Hey guys, what's up? I'm Noah, this is Analog Resurgence, and today I'm taking a look at Adox CMS 20 35mm film. Adox CMS 20 is a high-resolution black and white negative film that gives you really high contrast results with very fine grain. And it can be shot at either 20 ISO under darker, kind of cloudy conditions, or in brighter, sunnier conditions, it can be shot at 12 ISO. So it's a very low ISO in comparison to much more popular films that you can find out there. Now, this is a bit more of a unique film that you might not find as easily as a lot of the other films out there from Kodak and Fuji. And in order to get the intended results with this film, it is best used with the Adotech developer. That developer will give you the kind of smooth, really high contrast results that the film is designed to give you, but it can be used with other developers that are maybe a little easier to find. But using different developer will kind of impact the contrast and the overall look of the film and the results that you get. So let's check out some of the examples from a test roll that I shot when I was walking around with it. I really like this stuff, and the results I got from this roll do make me want to shoot more of it in the future. It is so smooth in terms of grain, and zooming in on shots looks really nice because of just how fine grained the images are. It has a look that I really like. The contrast is also crazy, and this stuff was developed with the Adotech developer, and the results are pretty intense. There's really not much range in terms of tones here, so like midtones barely exist between the shadows and the highlights. You really have to decide what to expose for in your image when you're composing things. I had used the built-in light meter on an SLR, and that light meter kind of tries to determine what's best for the scene overall. But it's better to maybe have a handheld light meter with you in order to meter for more specific regions when you're shooting your images. The exposures are based on the overall light, so if I wanted more shadow detail, for example, then I wouldn't get it by exposing like that. Looking at how intense the contrast is in scenes, you can see how deep the blacks are and then how bright the white areas are. And there's just areas that are crushed and blown out, and there's like nothing in between. And avoiding high contrast scenes, or at least being aware of how you're shooting them with this film, is really important. I metered this film at 12 ISO because there was a lot of sun on the day that I was out shooting with it, and 25 is the lowest my meter can go on the SLR, so I just kind of overexposed that meter reading by one stop of light. And I did shoot this film handheld, but even with lots of light, there's still shots where things are pretty shaky because my shutter speeds can't be super fast. It's a really low ISO film, so you do need to kind of have that light. And I would recommend using a tripod on this stuff as well. There's not like any information you can pull back from this when you're editing, so you kind of need to make sure you shoot for what you want when you're actually exposing. Kind of missing the exposure or underexposing, you're just kind of gonna lose a lot of anything in the image that you're trying to take. So really kind of nailing the exposure and being aware of how your scenes are set up and the kind of contrast that's in the scene in front of you is really key to getting great results with this film. So the film negatives themselves actually have a really kind of unique look to them. The actual base of the film is really clear, so it's really interesting to kind of take a look and a closer examination of your negatives like on a light table and be able to see the detail and just how it all stands out because of the contrast. I do really like the look of like high contrast black and white stuff like that, where it has a really low ISO and really fine grain to it. And this stuff actually reminds me very much of a 16mm motion picture film stock that you can get and shoot, and has really high contrast but really fine grain. And I'll look at some of that stuff in the future as well. And of course, if you want to see more examples of this stuff and just like the whole roll, then all of that is available over on the Patreon for Analog Resurgence. There's a link in the description for that of this video. This stuff is also available in medium format, which I really do want to shoot now based solely on playing around with the 35mm stuff because of just kind of the results that I'm seeing from this stuff. So CMS 20 isn't necessarily like super popular or really the easiest film to find because it is a little more specialized, but I will throw some links down in the description below to kind of help anybody out if they're looking to pick up some rolls of this stuff. And again, it is also best used with the proprietary Adotech developer that kind of goes along with it to give you these really specialized results. So I would recommend this stuff more towards people who do home developing, and then they can kind of handle that stuff themselves and be able to pick up the developer and just do it all on their own. Or if you have access to a lab that is willing to use specialized developers in order to do stuff like this the way that it's meant to be done. So there is some extra effort involved in being able to find a role of this stuff and pick it up and get the developer and develop it properly in order to get those kind of images off of the role. But when it's all done properly, it can give some really interesting, really cool results. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching and checking this out, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if there's more stuff that you want to see in the future and suggestions for different topics or films to shoot and be able to talk about and look at, then you can comment on any of the videos on the channel. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.